I definitely have some very exciting things to tell you about the Cincinnati Public Schools, and can address some of the handouts that I've given you. But at any point in time, if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to just jump in and ask or make a comment. I'd love to just have a dialogue with you. So thank you for inviting me to come here and speak. I'm always excited to speak about what's happening within our district. We have 36,000 kids. Our enrollment is growing. Unlike other large urban districts across the nation, our enrollment is actually increasing. So more people are moving back to the city, and so we have more kids in our schools. We now have 62 schools, pre-K through 12th grade. We have approximately 5,000 employees, and our general fund budget is over $500 million. That's just general fund. And then we also have title and grant funding and federal funds. And so Cincinnati Public Schools is really a pretty big operation. So when I think about Cincinnati Public, and I have like notes that my team has written for me, but I'll probably go completely off script and really just speak to you from my heart what I feel about the district. This district is very dear and near to my heart because I was a child growing up within Cincinnati Public Schools. I attended Bond Hill Elementary and then went on to the School for the Creative and Performing Arts. And knew always from a very young age that education is what I love and what I'm very passionate about. And so I kept down that pathway. Went off to North Carolina for my education, undergraduate. My first teaching job was in a very affluent school district right outside of Atlanta. And I moved back to Cincinnati and taught in an inner city school, became an assistant principal. I left the district for a little while to work for Educational Foundation in San Francisco, in which I traveled across the United States working in different school districts on school leadership. So each month I would go to Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, Connecticut, and New Jersey, and work with other large urban districts on school improvement. And then I came back to Cincinnati as the deputy superintendent, where I served in that role for 12 years under two different superintendents, Rosa Blackwell and then Mary Ronan, who was able to accomplish so many great things while she was in our district. One of the things that she was able to accomplish is she was a superintendent for 9 years in an urban district. It is. So nationally, in large urban districts, it's about 18 months is the life of a superintendent. Yeah, it's a very hard and challenging job. So was very, very fortunate to learn from her and also from Mrs. Blackwell. This year, we started off our school year with a focus on innovating. And what we really say when we talk about innovation, it's thinking differently about the work that we do, but more importantly than thinking differently, it's doing differently. So people talk a lot about thinking outside the box, but do they actually do outside the box? Do they match up their actions to do things that are very different? And we in Cincinnati are embracing change and really embracing innovation. So when I think about what we do in Cincinnati Public, it always takes me back to the why. Why do we do what we do? And it makes me think about 1969, which was a historic year for the United States. And if you asked anyone at NASA, if you asked a janitor at NASA, what do you do? Everyone would say the exact same thing no matter which role they sat in, and that is, I'm putting a man on the moon. So when I think about Cincinnati Public Schools, there are 3 things that we do, and everyone who works for us needs to be able to say these 3 things. The first thing is that we get and put our kids into college and some form of schooling beyond graduation. We put our kids into the world of work, and we put our kids into the military. And those are the 3 things that we do. It is so critically important that we're connected to our why, because pre-K through 12th grade is all about what happens to you after you leave CPS. not about what happens to you while you're there. So graduation, we believe, should be a given. The true test of our kids achieving is, once they leave our district, are they prepared to go into the world, take care of themselves, make a decent living for themselves, and take care of their families? That's the true test as to whether or not we have prepared our kids for the world, not necessarily a test score. So we say that we are preparing our kids for life. And as we think about preparing our kids for life, we've thought about this very differently in terms of, yes, of course, reading, writing, math, science, social studies, those things are all very important, but we still have to get to the why. Why is this important? And so we've taken a very different approach with our work, and we're really focused on helping kids identify their passion. So what's something that you love to do, and how can you turn that thing into a career pathway? And I might sound warm and fuzzy and soft, but if I can show a kid, help them discover what they're passionate about, and show them how math and science connects to it, now I've given them a reason, I've given them a why. So when I think about myself as an example, at the age of 4, I discovered my passion. I would sometimes go to school with my mom on rare occasions, and I would sit in the back of the classroom and I would watch her teach at Rockdale Elementary. And it was at that point in time that I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be able to work with people and teach them just as she has done. And so all throughout my high school career, although I went to SCPA and it gave me a really well-rounded education, and I love the arts to this day, I was really not that talented. That was not the area for me to go in. Plus, it really wasn't my passion. And so I decided to follow my passion. So we want to help our kids identify with something they're passionate about. And the reason we want to do that is several years ago, there was an article written by the Inquirer, and it talked about being 14 in Cincinnati. And some of you may remember that article that kids were interviewed, and some of the kids said that they did not have a hope and a dream for a future beyond 9th grade. That's unbelievable. And so we have to stir up in our kids their passion. We have to help them discover it. We have to cultivate and give them experiences so they have lots of different opportunities and access to be able to choose what they're really interested in. And so that's what we're about right now, is pursuing that excellence and that passion for our kids. In Cincinnati, we say, CPS, we want Cincinnati to be a place of destination. Not just our school district, but the city. And we believe that there are 3 reasons why Cincinnati should be a place of destination. And first of all, the reason we say that is that we believe that there is a strong connection. There is a tie between the city and a school district. And in order to have a thriving city, you must have a district that's thriving with students as well. But we believe that Cincinnati Public can be a part of that. We're a part of that because we, first of all, have safe schools for our kids to attend with lots of different options. I mentioned that we now have 62 schools that we actually just this year opened 3 new schools. 3 elementary schools. 1 will actually be a 3rd through 12th grade school. So we have lots of choices for our parents. And let me just stay on that for just a moment. When I think about our first delivery on the promise of Cincinnati being a destination, when I say safe schools, that's in the minds and the hearts of our parents, our grandparents, our uncles and aunts as they send their kids off to school. And I'm really happy and proud to say that before the incident that took place recently in Florida, before the incident that took place at a school in Kentucky happened, we this year had already set up a safety task force. It's really hard for us to tell parents, send your kids to our schools, or kids come to our schools if they don't feel safe. And so that's our first responsibility. From the time kids leave their front door to come to school all throughout the day, and once they leave to go home and back home, it's our responsibility to make sure that they're safe. So we put in place a safety task force that's made up of Cincinnati Public Schools security staff, which 2 of them are retired police officers. We had 4 people from the police department who sit on this task force. We have 3 people from Homeland Security. We have the FBI, and we have the fire department. And they are working with us to make sure that our schools are safe. And how are they doing that? They're going into our schools and they're conducting safety audits. So they're looking at how easy is it for me to get into your school. And so we're looking at, quite honestly, at the high school, all of our high schools, without exception, should be using the metal detectors. And sometimes parents and people don't like that because it gives the stigma that it's not a safe place. But really what we're trying to send the message is, it is a safe place, and here's a measure that we've put in place. And so we have the metal detectors that not only our kids go through, but our staff members go through, visitors go through. When you come into our schools and you register and you're a visitor, there is a computer in which you have to log into, and you put your name into it, and then it will print a sticker, a badge for you to wear while you're in the school. When you put your name in, while it's printing that sticker, it's doing a very quick background check. And it's checking to see if this is a person who isn't supposed to be around children. And then it sends a red flag to the secretary's computer, so she knows that this person cannot go beyond the office. And then it gets security to come over. These are the measures that we're putting in place to ensure that our schools are safe. In the safety audit, we look for things like, are there doors, exterior doors that are left open? Or are there things that are left in the door that makes easy access for people to come in? And so all of these things we're putting in place, and we're going to continue those safety audits throughout the rest of this school year and forevermore to ensure that our students are safe and that our families can feel that it's a good place for them to send their kids. Safety is on the minds of our students, and quite honestly, it shouldn't be at school, but they think about that. So we're putting